Health Department urges parents and youth to get their children vaccinated amid a measles outbreak in the National Capital Region. Graft charges sought against former President Noynoy Aquino and other former officials over the DENGVAXIA fiasco. And a no swimming zone enforced in Manila Bay following a near drowning incident involving an 11-year-old girl. Good evening. The Department of Health has declared a measles outbreak in Metro Manila and Central Luzon. Based on the data recorded by the DOH Epidemiology Bureau, the number of measles cases at the National Capital Region has reached 196 from January 1 to February 6 this year, which is higher than the 20 cases reported in the same period last year. Locally known as Tigdas, the cases of measles infection in NCR rose by 550% this year compared to the same period in 2018. Measles is a highly contagious respiratory disease caused by a virus. It is transferred from person to person by sneezing, coughing, and close personal contact. Its signs and symptoms include cough, runny nose, red eyes or conjunctivitis, fever, and skin rashes lasting for more than 3 days. The DOH is advising mothers and the public to bring all suspected cases to the nearest health facility for early treatment and proper case management. A House panel has recommended the filing of charges against former President Benigno Aquino III and several other former officials in relation with the DENGVAXIA fiasco. Grace Casin tells us why.
Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability recommended the filing of graft charges, malversation, and grave misconduct against former President Benigno Aquino III for allowing the use of DENGVAXIA in government immunization programs that allegedly caused the death of several children. Also implicated were former Budget Secretary Florencio Butch Abad and former Health Secretary Janet Garin. Based on the approved committee report, the three were among other government officials who conspired to procure the controversial anti-dengue vaccine, despite lack of certificate of product registration and safety assurance from authorizing bodies. House Committee Chairperson Representative Xavier Romualdez argued that Aquino violated the law when he allowed the use of 3.5 billion pesos in public funds to procure DENGVAXIA vaccines in 2015.
Nakita ng committee na in the course of implementing yung DENGVAXIA immunization, in dengue immunization program, maraming nilabag na rules and regulations and batas. So, yung mga nag-violate nun, yun yung in-identify namin kung sino yung mga responsible and ano yung crimes, offenses na ginawa nila.
Meanwhile, Dinagat Island Representative Kakabag-Ao questioned the committee's recommendation, arguing that the House inquiry has not established proof that the said officials' action indeed violated the law. But Romualdez stood by the House Committee's report. Several congressmen also proposed charges against the executives of DENGVAXIA manufacturer Sanofi Pasteur, as well as former Health Secretary Pauline Obial.
The narration of facts in both the committee reports that we were supplied with basically contains the same set of facts. And I will use the same set of facts just to emphasize that some were missing out in the analysis portion.
These are all found in the report. The only difficult thing lang is the presentation, because it's in a narrative form. But if we analyze it from looking at it with the timeline, it will be very clear why we conclude.
In response, Abad said in a statement that the committee report is not yet final and it's still subject to debates and amendment. Aquino and Garin, on the other hand, are yet to give comments on the issue. The Department of Justice, meanwhile, is probing the complaints filed by the Public Attorney's Office or PAO in relation to the deaths of 30 children being linked to the DENGVAXIA immunization. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, together with the Metro Manila Development Authority, have strictly enforced a no swimming zone in Manila Bay in the midst of its rehabilitation. Asher Kadapan Jr. explains why.
Authorities have installed orange barriers at the Baywalk area along Rojas Boulevard to bar people from swimming in Manila Bay. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, together with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources and Department of Public Works and Highways, have assigned a no-swimming zone as recreational swimming remains harmful to humans due to high coliform content in Manila Bay's waters.
Pansamantala po nating sinasara itong seawall area. Lahat ho ng mga bisita, turista, mga kababayan, dito po kayo sa likod ng barikada.
The orange barriers were placed 3 meters away from the concrete seawall at the seaside as directed by the Manila Bay Interagency Task Force during a site inspection on Wednesday. Several members of the Philippine National Police take rounds in monitoring the area to make sure that no one would go beyond the barricade and attempt to swim in the bay. Aside from health risk of contact with the contaminated waters, authorities decided to strictly ban recreational swimming in Manila Bay because of an incident involving an 11-year-old girl who nearly drowned in the bay on Tuesday. The girl remains under observation in the intensive care unit while doctors continue to remove excess fluid that penetrated her lungs. According to the girl's mother, Marivic Mabilas, she didn't know that her daughter went swimming in Manila Bay despite her disapproval. She believes her daughter was persuaded by peers to swim. An MMDA personnel was able to rescue the girl and immediately rushed her to the nearest hospital. The girl remains in critical condition due to the large volume of dark, dirty water deposits in her lungs.
Madami. Pag nakita niyo po yung itim na inom, itim para siyang, hindi ko alam kung burak yun o nainom niya lang yun sa tubig. Madumi po siya.
Authorities reiterated that it is not yet allowed to swim in Manila Bay as the waters remain unsafe due to high coliform content which can lead to several diseases. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Manila City.
Senatorial aspirant Giggy Monica is more inclined to push for legislations that would benefit farmers, OFWs, and media workers if he wins in the coming May elections. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
His decades of exposure to the recurring problems in the society prompted Rodrigo de Thio Monica Jr. to gamble in Philippine politics. Known simply as Giggy Monica, the veteran journalist said he knows very well the root causes of these problems, but the opportunity for him to contribute change is limited. Being a media person, then being a statesman, that's why he wants to take chances in the 2019 midterm elections. In the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, Manicad said he wants to widen his avenue to better serve the people.
Sa dami ng mga senador na nagdaan, I mean, in the past, nakikita mo yan as a journalist na ang dami naman nandiyan ng mga senador. Bobo ba lahat itong mga to? Na kailangan pa na isang Giggy Monica para mailagay yan sa batas?
Siguro yung issue lang ng pagtutok, parang sa dami ng issue din natin bilang bansa, hindi masyado natututukan.
Like the previous senatorial aspirants who graced the program, Manicad wants to focus on providing solutions to the country's problems in agriculture. He suggests that key agriculture positions in the government should be given to experts in the field and entrust its management to traditional politicians. He wants to push measures that would improve the local farmers' production to empower them and for their yields to compete with imported products.
Ano ba nakikita natin ngayon? Mahal ang farm inputs, pesticide, abono. Lagyan natin ng ceiling yan sa presyuhan kasi yan ang mahal eh.
Manicad added that he wants to establish policies that would strengthen the country's disaster preparedness and capabilities in times of calamities, where the government, he believes, is still lacking despite its high level of accuracy in terms of weather and disaster forecasting. Being a media personality, Manicad aims to address labor issues in media networks in the country. Likewise, he wants to encourage these networks to promote good values and the richness of Filipino culture in television programs. Being a rookie politician, the veteran journalist wants reform in the country's electoral system, hopefully by imposing stricter guidelines for election to give candidates equal opportunities, even those who are budding politicians as himself. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Senate leadership supports the appeal of a lawmaker to President Duterte to veto the alleged pork barrel insertions in the 2019 proposed national budget. Here's why from Nel Maribojo.
The Senate still has no firm position yet if they will ratify the 2019 proposed budget before weekend. This is in spite of the statement made by House Committee Chairman Rolando Andaya Jr. that next week that the proposed budget is ready for the President's approval. According to Senate President Vicente Soto III, they will conduct a caucus tonight to discuss the status of BICAM's deliberation on issues concerning some provisions of the proposed budget. These include the alleged pork barrel insertions of some lawmakers. The Senate President supports the appeal of Senator Panfilo Lacson to President Rodrigo Duterte to veto the alleged pork insertions if the proposed budget will proceed without the proposed amendments of the Senate. According to Senator Sani Angara, if the budget will not be ratified on Friday, the government will definitely operate under the reenacted budget until July.
Walang defined item for 2019 is what I know. Maybe if there are savings in agencies, then they will use that. Or there are funds na unprogrammed fund for hindi natuloy yung project, doon nila kukunin yung pondo.
This means that the programs of the administration for 2019 will be affected. This also means that the preparations for the 2019 midterm elections will likewise be compromised due to problems of payment for the honoraria of serving teacher in the polling precinct. Nel Maribojo, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Over 220,000 Filipino workers are set to have a permanent position under an agreement signed between the Department of Labor and Employment and the Employers Confederation of the Philippines. According to Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III, the regularization of workers from 3,200 establishments will be implemented this month under the 3-year National Voluntary Regularization Plan. Bello says an initial 30 to 40% of the workers in the pre-identified establishments will benefit from the plan. The Labor Secretary believes this program will set the stage for the massive regularization to be voluntarily initiated by the rest of the employers nationwide. Bello also considers the agreement a breakthrough in a government's campaign to eliminate the practice of contractualization in the country. President Duterte is set to meet with his cabinet officials tonight to discuss developments and several issues that need to be addressed. According to Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, they will tackle the streamlining of procedures in the Department of Agrarian Reform, the National Identification System, as well as the government's immunization program under the Department of Health. Nograles adds that the meeting will also focus on alleviating the lives of farmers and fisher folks, providing them better access to credit and loan facilities, and improving agricultural productivity. Up next on Y News. PNP confirms Holo Cathedral blast caused by a suicide bomber. And COMELEC winds down operations as the second round of Bangsamoro voting closes. Thank you for keeping me company in the first part of Y News. More reasons behind the stories with Angelo, Castro III, and William Thio after this quick break. I'm Rheena, Villamor-Camara. Good evening.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up from where Rheena Villamor-Camara left off. I am Angelo Diego Castro III, and here are the headlines. Second round of voting for the Bangsamoro Organic Law closes with officials expressing high hopes for its turnout. Authorities confirm Holo Cathedral blast caused by a suicide bomber, but the nationality of the bomber remains uncertain. And PNP releases CCTV footage of the murder of NDFP's consultant Randy Malaya. Charges have also been filed against several personalities relative to the case. There had been no delays on the conduct of the second plebiscite in Lanao del Norte and North Cotabato. However, authorities are verifying reports of presence of armed men in areas where the plebiscite is being done. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The opening of the second plebiscite this morning had been orderly and without delays, according to the Commission on Elections. As early as 3:30 at dawn, election paraphernalia were distributed to assigned plebiscite committee. Although COMELEC was expecting withdrawal of teachers to serve as plebiscite members of the plebiscite committee, it turned out the other way around. COMELEC didn't have to use alternates to replace them in polling precincts. According to Director James Jimenez, from 8:30 in the morning today, there have been no reported untoward incidents in areas where the plebiscite is being done. There was a greater number of voter turnout, contrary to what the poll body has been expecting.
Voting is still proceeding unhampered despite heavy rains in some parts of Lanao del Norte. We don't know yet about how the voter turnout will shape up, but in at least some places, we've already received reports that their estimate is edging up to 75%.
Meanwhile, the police and the military remain on full alert to keep areas secured and safe for voters. This after COMELEC received reports that there were armed members of the MILF fighters seen in areas where the plebiscite was taking place. COMELEC is continuously coordinating with authorities to verify the report.
There are some places where there are persistent rumors of armed men coming into the territory, supposedly or allegedly MILF fighters. No? We are trying to verify these rumors, but in the meantime, the local government units are on alert and the AFP and the PNP are apprised of the situation.
COMELEC is not also setting aside the bombing incidents in Lanao del Norte on the eve of the Bangsamoro plebiscite.
The investigation is ongoing and we cannot definitively say that it was election-related. Although, again, having said that, the timing sort of makes it irrelevant whether or not it actually was intended to be election-related.
The second plebiscite for inclusion ended at 5 in the afternoon today. Convening of the certificates of canvass will be done tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Palacio del Gobernador. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The road to lasting peace in Mindanao through the Bangsamoro Organic Law, or BOL, will not be hindered by terrorist acts, says Malacanang. The palace made the statement in line with the second BOL plebiscite, particularly in Lanao del Norte, except Iligan City and other municipalities in North Cotabato today. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the explosions on the eve of the Bangsamoro Organic Law plebiscite stems from acts of cowardice on the part of those who resist change and want to create a climate of fear, hopelessness, and poverty in Mindanao. But the government will not be waylaid by such obstruction and destruction. Instead, the palace assured through the armed forces of the Philippines the safety of the electorate in that part of Mindanao and that the military is in full alert status to thwart any attempt from any armed or terrorist groups. Philippine National Police has confirmed that the bombing of the cathedral in Holosulu is caused by a suicide bomber. The National Police, however, is still uncertain as to the nationality of the suicide bomber. Leah Ilagan tells us why.
Authorities have gathered a handful of information leading to a significant number of possible suspects and persons of interest into the bombing of Mount Carmel Cathedral in Holosulu. From a teacher-student tandem that was seen in a CCTV camera, a certain alias Kama, who was among several suspects who surrendered to the authorities, and several foreigners like a Yemeni couple, a Jordanian, and a Malaysian. Authorities are now looking into an alleged Indonesian terrorist who could be the one responsible for the blast based on the data collected. PNP spokesperson Police Senior Superintendent Bernard Banac says they are making these sets of information public as they want to be as transparent with their investigation as possible. Banac said they are still awaiting the DNA test result of the collected body remnants in the blast and the Indonesian government's feedback so they could ascertain the nationality of the suicide bomber.
Kailangan nga natin talaga na masusing pag-aralan, pag sama-samahin lahat nating mga impormasyon na makakalap nang sa gayon makabuo tayo ng isang larawan kung talaga ang nationality nito ay Indonesian at base na rin kung maiko-kumpirma ito ng pamahalaan din ng Indonesia.
The official added that one thing they are sure of is that what happened in Jolo is a case of suicide bombing based on the unclaimed human body parts discovered in the blast site. The nationality of the bomber can only be determined through DNA test.
Huwag po tayong mangamba dahil ang ating pong Philippine National Police ay patuloy po na nag-iimbestiga professionally. Ito po ay hinahandle ng ating Special Investigation Task Group Jolo. At ang mga impormasyon po na sa ngayon na natanggap base na nagpapatungkol sa mga Indonesian suicide bombers ay base po muli sa mga impormasyon na natatanggap natin. Ito lamang ay nagpapakita ng pagiging transparent ng ating investigation at pinapaalam natin sa publiko na itong mga impormasyon na ito ay kailangan pang i-validate at patuloy namang nakikipag-ugnayan ang ating pamahalaan at ating ahensya sa mga counterparts natin sa ibang bansa katulad ng Indonesia.
The Mount Carmel Cathedral bombing that happened on January 27 killed 23 people and injured 95. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines once again proved that their pursuit against the Abu Sayyaf group has always been relentless. Here's why from Joanano.
Members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Abu Sayyaf group had an encounter anew in Sulu. This is the AFP's fourth encounter with the ASG in the military's persistent offensive efforts that aimed at bringing down the terrorist group down on their knees as ordered by the President. The AFP said they will be relentless in pursuing the ASG even if the terrorist group is not taking responsibility on the bombing.
Kahit naman i-claim or hindi nila i-claim yan, talagang hahabulin pa rin natin at dudurugin sila based on the guidance at directive ng ating Commander-in-Chief.
The encounter between the 41st Infantry Battalion and the group of Idang Susukan ensued yesterday afternoon in Barangay Kandang, Maimbung, Sulu. One member of the group died while another one identified as Murtasir Parajil alias Muster Ibla was captured. A soldier, on the other hand, was injured in the 20-minute intense firefight. The military recovered 3 M14 rifles, 1 M16 rifle, and a bandolier of M14 magazines and ammunitions. The AFP said this was the same group that they encountered this past weekend, wherein 3 members of the group died and 15 others were injured. The AFP's hot pursuit on the other Abu Sayyaf members who were behind the Jolo Cathedral bombing.
Yung Air Force halos hindi yan natutulog sila. 24 hours yan sila. Nandiyan sila at I'm sure nararamdaman nyo na kayong nakakaalam.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Philippine National Police has released the CCTV footage of the supposed killing of National Democratic Front consultant Felix Randy Malayo Jr. The National Police also filed charges against several personalities relative to the case. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
The Police Regional Office Region 2 has released the CCTV footage of the killing of National Democratic Front consultant Felix Randy Malayo Jr. aboard a bus in Arita, Nueva Vizcaya on January 30. In the first video recovered from a bus terminal in Quezon City, Malayo was seen on the evening of January 29 boarding a bus en route to Isabela City. Minutes later, a man was seen approaching the bus where Malayo was on, took a picture of the bus and left. 5 hours later, another footage captured the bus parking for a short stopover at a terminal in Aritao. 2 suspicious men were seen outside the bus smoking cigarettes, who authorities considered as persons of interest in the case. Pro 2 Director, Police Chief Superintendent Jose Mario Espino said, about 20 minutes after the bus park, a man in a jacket and a cap got on the bus and approached Malayo, who was sitting at the back, and shot the NDF consultant at close range. 2 gunshots were heard that stunned other passengers.
Sabi po ng mga investigador natin, based din sa analysis nila, talaga pong pinagplanuhan siya, sinundan siya, masigurado na siya nakasakay sa bus. At sa mga succeeding video review rin namin, talaga meron din siyang kasabay doon sa loob ng bus mismo.
Espino assured that the Special Investigation Task Force is now completing the information regarding the suspects for the filing of charges. The police earlier charged several personalities of obstruction of justice and grave threat, particularly Karapatan Legal Consultant Attorney Eddie Balgos, Rheena Balgos, and Perla Malayaw Upano, an official at the DILG National Capital Region, for threatening the authorities and for unauthorized retrieval of 6 of Malayaw's cellular phones and his laptop right after the shooting. Those items, Espino said, are vital evidence that will help in the speedy resolution of the case.
So hindi po sana nakialam po yung mga tao na sinasabi namin na kinuha yung laptop niya, 6 na cellphone niya, mga documents doon. Magkakaroon po ng lawak yung ating motibo at anggulo. Kung sino po yung mga balak pong nag-carry out itong pagpatay kay Malaya.
The PNP is still eyeing the New People's Army as the group behind Malayaw's killing. Meanwhile, the bus company involved, Victory Liner, issued on Wednesday its official statement in relation to the crime. The bus firm said it is in constant coordination with authorities in the investigation and vows to improve security of its facilities. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Football star Lionel Messi is still looking to join the first semi-final leg of Copa del Rey despite missing a training session over an injury. But Barcelona team's coach warns Messi against taking risks. Here's why from Asher Cadapan Jr.
Barcelona captain Lionel Messi's hope of playing in the Copa del Rey semi-final first leg against Real Madrid were boosted after he took part in the training on Tuesday, having missed the previous day's session due to injury. Messi set alarm bells off after sustaining a knock to his calf during Saturday's 2-2 La Liga draw with Valencia, although he was able to finish the game after being treated. Barca did not release a medical report on his condition. Speaking ahead of Wednesday's game at the Nou Camp, Barcelona coach Ernesto Valverde said he would see how Messi responded in training, but that he would take no risks with the club's all-time top scorer.
No creo que en una semifinal entre Barça y Madrid haya un favorito. Creo que
we have very good players, including the one that we consider to be the best in the world, and they also have great players, some among the best in the world. So if Leo is fit, he will play in, and if not, he will not play. But this doesn't change who the favorites are. It is an open tie.
No cambia el favoritismo de uno u otro, es una eliminatoria absolutamente abierta.
Earlier in the day, Real Madrid coach Santiago Solari said he hoped Messi played for the good of the game, but he added that the Argentine's presence would not affect his match preparation. Messi was out with a broken arm the last time Spain's two biggest clubs met back in October. But Barca barely missed their talisman, thrashing Real 5-1 in what proved to be Julen Lopetegui's last game as manager before Solari took over.
Los dos equipos en un buen momento hace que
the fact that both teams arrive at a good moment makes the match more attractive. We are eager to face it, and everyone else is excited to see a match of this level.
Está expectante por ver un partido de este nivel.
Real are third in the La Liga standings but cut their gap behind leaders Barca to 8 points after beating Alaves on Sunday. They will be looking to end Barcelona's run of 4 consecutive Copa del Rey triumphs and reach the final of the competition for the first time since 2014 when they beat the Catalans 2-1. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
Up next on Y News. Border security takes center stage in U.S. President Donald Trump's State of the Union speech as he vows to build a border wall despite opposition from Democrats. Trump announces agreement to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un again in Vietnam this month. And a woman suspected of committing arson is now under police custody following a Paris building blaze that killed 10 people. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thio. I'm Angelo III. Good evening.